Here, Tanya, finishing the other one. Hi, everyone that's just joining us. We are currently recording, so if you want to switch your cameras off, please feel free. Okay, Dan, I'm going to give it one more minute and then I'll start. We are recording for everyone that's joining us.
Yes, no problem. I'll keep an eye on the lobby.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so hi everyone, and thank you for joining us for this Q&A session this evening. For those of you that I haven't had the pleasure to meet yet, I am Gemma Gwillam. I have recently joined the Educational Technologist team alongside Dan, Bruce and James, having been working at Beacon View in Portsmouth, one of the UL schools, as curriculum leader up till Christmas. Now, this session is being recorded, so if you want to switch off your cameras so that then you're not included, that's completely up to you and that's fine. Dan is on hand, so if you have any questions, please pop them into the chat box, and then hopefully we'll be able to share some good practice later as well. So the plan for today is that we're going to begin to look at the benefits of interactive whiteboards, and I'm going to introduce you to Whiteboard Fi. Now, I must say thank you to WHGS and Tanya, who have helped get our use of Whiteboard.fi over the line with the completion of the DPIA and support in using the resource. There's also lots of other people that I'm going to mention at the end, and if I've missed anyone, I'm terribly sorry. I know there's been lots of people working on this to support us this evening. I'm also going to go through setting up your Whiteboard.fi, some tips on how to use it, and then we'll have a little practice. And then Jill has provided us with some examples of how she's been using it in maths. I've been speaking with Karen and with Jen on how we could potentially use this in English. Gemma from William Hughes is joining us, and she has been using Whiteboard.fi quite a bit and has some videos to share with us as well. Then we have some other uses and sharing good practice and an opportunity for Q&A. So the benefits of interactive whiteboards, and there's many different whiteboard apps out there. Some people have been using Explain Everything, some people have been using Nearpod, and now we're moving on to using Whiteboard.fi. These are brilliant because they allow us to check children's understanding quickly across the whole class and identify any misconceptions and deal with them. It's great for working remotely, but the Educational Technologist team are really keen on developing skills that we can use both remotely, but then also in the classroom when we return after COVID. And as you'll see, it's going to create a record of all those wonderful whiteboard moments that sometimes might get wiped away, or the pen might not be dark enough for us to photocopy. So hopefully you'll find what a brilliant tool this is today. Now, another reason I'm so passionate about using Whiteboard.fi or any interactive whiteboard is that you would have seen in the latest Ofsted document about what's working well, that it's good to divide our content into smaller chunks. And by having the children having retrieval practice, it's proved that they're able to retain more. We're also able to use Whiteboard Fi to encourage peer interactions. We can use it for feedback, for retrieval practice and assessment. And we can also use them like we would use a whiteboard in class to make sure pupils are warmed up and ready for their learning. I will also share out these slides afterwards in the recording for you all. So a bit of an introduction. With Whiteboard.fi, everyone gets an individual whiteboard where they can draw, they can write, they can add notation. There's so much that you can do, and you'll be able to see all of your students' whiteboards in real time. And I had a little practice with this earlier with someone, and it was amazing to see their work just pop up on my screen instantly. It's also an instant formative assessment tool, so you can give live feedback in your class. And the great thing about this that I found so far through my research is that everybody can answer. So even some of those children may be reluctant to show their whiteboard in class, or perhaps don't normally want to put their hand up and suggest their answer. With their whiteboard in front of them and the fact that nobody else can see their whiteboard, every child's having that opportunity and feels that they can put forward their ideas. So these are just some of the things that you can do with Whiteboard.fi. I have taken this from their website. I'm not going to go through them with you, but I've included that so that when you get the slides in the presentation, you can take a look yourself. So setting up your Whiteboard.fi. First of all, when you go to Whiteboard.fi, you'll come to this landing page and you'll need to start by having a new class, and it's really fast and easy. When you do set up your class, you're going to need to put your name in, and then a top tip, a bit like we're doing now, I can see there's people joining our lobby, is enable your waiting room lobby, the same as what we've been doing with our Teams meetings. You can also enable manual save mode for students, and it's completely up to you whether or not you want to do that for saving their whiteboards. If you did forget to enable the waiting room lobby, like I did the first time I used this tool, you can also go back and lock the room to stop any new students joining. So don't worry if you missed that step initially, you can go back and add it in. Okay, so the enabling manual save mode means that you'll automatically save their whiteboard. And again, you can always go back and do that later on in the system. Doesn't matter if you missed a step when you're creating your new class. Now, when you do come on to creating rooms, you've got a choice of creating permanent rooms or temporary rooms. Now, the permanent rooms, as the name suggests, do stay. And I found that it's better to create these permanent rooms because then the children only need one link to access, and you can get used to them. They can get used to, sorry, using the same link again and again each lesson to access their own whiteboard. But you might want to make sure that their whiteboards are clean for the start of a lesson, and I can show you how to do that. Now, when you do set up your rooms, and you'll see here, you can have more than one room, but you can only have one room open at a time. So on this one, I had my maths room open, but it meant that my English room was closed. And it's very simple to go between closing and opening. You'll also see, and I'll show you this a bit later, that you can personalize your URL code. So I did just call it 4GG Maths and 4GG English. In hindsight now, I'd probably just have 4GG as a class one, so the children are always accessing the same room. When you have set up your room, the children can join the room by using the link, and you can paste this into a Sway, you can paste it into Teams, email, chat, or they can scan a QR code, which would be quite useful if you're using it inside the classroom. So you could have a QR code on their table that they scan with their iPad, and then they're able to take part in the lesson with you. Whilst you're in this bit, before you go on to toggling your whiteboard, if you click on the setting options, You do have a range of additional room features. So you always make sure you've got an able waiting lobby ticked. So this is the bit that I said at the beginning, that if you didn't do it, you've got your opportunity there. You can lock your room once you've got everyone in so that nobody else can join you. You can also hide the student names, clear their whiteboards. So if you're using the same room for your children, regardless of the subject, you may want to do that between each lesson. And save all whiteboards as PDF. You can also invite a co-teacher. So say if you're collaborating with your year partner or teaching the whole year group across one go, then you could be working together on this. And obviously then you've got empty room and closed room. So when you're using your Whiteboard.fi, it's fantastic, I found so far, because you can add text, you can add images, you can set backgrounds. I particularly really enjoyed using the squared paper and the handwriting lines, which again, when we're back in the classroom, be really useful. Having the children having squared paper on their whiteboard, when you're doing your calculations, they can then practice using their place value and setting their calculations out correctly. You can also add pages and insert images. So you'll see an example later where I have used a White Rose worksheet and different activities for the children to complete. So this is your toolbar at the top. One thing that I did find was to make sure I've always got it on the cursor, because I ended up drawing on my whiteboard myself. So when I start, I check that I've got it on the cursor. You can then add your different backgrounds. Now the squared backgrounds are already there, and you click on your square and the grid, and you've got a small grid or a large grid, and it will automatically change the background for you. I've included how do I place a grid on my whiteboard as a link on here for you, and I will show you again in a bit in our live model. This is an example where I practiced putting some handwriting paper, and I actually did this on my phone because a lot of my children have been using phones or tablets to access their home learning, and I was able to then on my phone practice, perhaps not very well, but practice my handwriting on paper that I was able to send from the whiteboard to my child's whiteboard at home. You can also insert PDFs to your whiteboard, and each page of your PDF will automatically be inserted as a new page. You can see a little Adobe sign here for the PDF sign, and this will then be sent as a new layer. So that means that you can't then move it around, it will just become the background like this. So here you can see I used a PDF from the White Rose Premium Materials of the unit and non-unit fractions resource. When I inserted the PDF, it went as a background on my whiteboard. I then clicked push, and this sent it to the children that were in my room. But it was really good that I found is the fact that when I've tried sending PDFs via Teams, the children have then found it hard to annotate or write. But when I sent it through the whiteboard, they were able to zoom in, and then they're able to write on the whiteboard, and I can see exactly what they're doing in real time. So the difficulties that I faced before Christmas when I was teaching live, in the children being able to access the resources I'm sharing with them, they were then able to do it by using the Whiteboard Fi function and accessing their sheets that way. I also set up a learning page by using the flatten button. So I created a learning page, then I pressed the flat button, and this meant that it went to a background. When I then pushed this out to the children, you can also set the square background to push to them, and you can see the children writing on their whiteboards in real time. To push it to the children, I pushed current page only. When I pushed the current page only, I was then able to see exactly what the children were writing. So on here, I clicked on the child's whiteboard. So if I go back to this bit here, I clicked on this one here, where it said the 365, and it gave me this picture here of the children working. When I did the same with this English activity, I was then able to click and see exactly what each child had written. You can then add comments and give instant feedback to the children, which then when I was practicing this came straight up on my phone. You receive feedback from your teacher. So you can give a like or you can give written feedback. So here I practiced giving a what went well and a next step. And as a child, they were able to see that straight away. You can, of course, give verbal feedback in the class as well and recognise when you've seen the children writing on their whiteboards. Now, when you have got each child's work open, if you click on actions, you could share a child's whiteboard with everyone. You can reset their whiteboard and you can even save their whiteboard. So if you wanted their whiteboard as written evidence for their books, you can save it and then print that later or save it in a folder. You can also kick a child, you wouldn't kick a child, sorry. You can also kick a student out of a lesson in the same way that we would with live lessons. If we need to remove someone from the room, we're able to do that. So what I thought was an easiest way for us to do this today is if we had a bit of a practice together. Has anyone got any questions so far? No, in which case I'm going to put this link in the chat. And there is also, I put the link in the chat for you. And then I'm going to go through and we're going to have a practice with you guys being the students, the children, and I will be the teacher to have a go at whiteboard.fi. So if you follow this link now, okay, and I will go through those steps again for setting up your whiteboard, but then also for you to have a go as the child. So come to whiteboard.fi and I'm going to go to my teacher dashboard. Just going to close my room. So here you'll see the different rooms that I've got set up. If I want to create a new room, I can click create new room, create permanent room, and that's where I can name it. So it might be talent class, and for the room URL, I want to call it talent class and save. Now, I'm not actually going to model using talent class because the link I've given you today is to the UL primary practice. So I'm going to click on open room. Then I'm going to visit my room. I've currently got 30 of you waiting. I'm not going to, I will accept you. Oh, 34 of you waiting. And you'll see that you've got all these children waiting. What I'll do before I accept you in is I'm going to set up my whiteboard. So I click on toggle my whiteboard. And you'll see that previous whiteboards that I've used are down the bottom. Now, if you don't want these anymore, you can press the minus sign, which will delete them. If you do want them, you can click add and it will add a new page for you. And you'll see I've still got the children down here waiting to join the room. Or if I don't recognise their name, I can reject them as well. So when I'm in this page, the first activity I'm going to do is a maths lesson. So I'm going to insert my small grid. Right, I'm ready for my lesson, so I am going to accept everybody in. There we go, just letting the last few people in. Oh, and I've noticed I've got some children are already writing on their whiteboards. So I can see my whole class whiteboards. That's okay, Amiga. I probably There we go. So I've got my square paper and I'm now going to send this page to everyone by pushing push. And hopefully you will all receive a squared background. Right, whiteboard successfully pushed. If I scroll down now, I can see that everyone is getting their squared whiteboard. So on your whiteboard, please can you complete this calculation? I'd like to see you writing it out properly using your place value heading. So your hundreds, tens and ones. I would like you to do 324 plus 79. Okay, if you can all do 324 plus 79. Well done, Andy. I can see you've written one number per square. Excellent, Charlotte. Nice use of your plus. Okay, Danielle, I like the way that you're using your hundreds, tens and ones. Okay, and this is what we can do with the children. So you can see straight away how they're completing their calculations. Oh. Well done, Mr. Bunker. I like the fact you self-assessed your own work. Right, so whilst the children are then completing their work, I'm going to choose Mr. Bunker. And I'm going to click on his whiteboard and I can now see what he's done. So I'm going to give him feedback. And I'm going to say, well done, Mr. Bunker. Can you try 287 plus 68? Send feedback. And there we go. I could also give him a thumbs up if I just wanted to quickly go through and give instant feedback. So I'm able to go through and see what everyone's doing. If I see that someone's struggling, say Claire has managed to write her, oh, she's erased her work. Okay, I can see lots of people working on their whiteboards. Let's try it again with a different one. So here's a whiteboard that I've set up before. In fact, I'll show you how to insert the handwriting. So I go back onto click on my arrow, a new page, and now I'm going to upload my handwriting paper. So I click on my PDF. Go to my handwriting paper and click open. Because it's a PDF, it automatically saves. Now, this wasn't the best option for me as a PDF. So actually what I'm going to do is a photo that I moved onto the page earlier. If I push this page out and push the current page only, you'll notice that everybody's page should start to change to handwriting paper. Oops, sorry, I've got some children I haven't accepted into. Okay, so now you've got your handwriting paper. And this week we are learning to spell CVC words. So let's practice with our handwriting. Cat. So you can model and then the children can actually use it on their whiteboards. If you wanted to model first and then the children had that on their board and they had to copy it, you would do your model first and then push it out. Let me just see if there's any questions so far. Okay, keep going. Now, when you come on to then wanting to save the boards, oh, sorry, Amiga, let me. Okay, so a child has said that they can't see. So what I can do here is click on my board, push. Oh, okay, Amiga, I'm going to look into seeing why I can't get yours to you. But for everyone else, lovely handwriting. So I can show Helen's. And I can join Helen's room. to see exactly what she's doing and to then support her and give her feedback as well. Now, one thing you might want to do is when you've got the boards, if you click on your settings and save all whiteboards, do that before then sending out any of the children's work. So that's now saving. Oh, brilliant. Thank you, Jen. If pupils press toggle teacher whiteboard, they can see the modelling and their own board too. And if you use the bottom option to push the background out, they can't erase it either. Thank you, Tanya. Okay, so that's just a few steps. There's lots of different functions in it, but I think the best way to then move on with this is if we have our experts who have been using this to then share what they found so far. So, Jill, are you still here?
I am still here, yes.
Fantastic, thanks, Jill. Jill, are you happy to then talk through how you use this with maths, please?
Well, yeah, I've used it at Marlborough Road, and it was because they were ahead of me, and they really helped me get used to it. What we've really used it for is fractions, because teaching fractions using the White Rose materials, it's pretty hard work going, or pretty hard. So we've used a huge amount of images and sort of modelled on Teams with a PowerPoint, and then pushed out whiteboards. And it's the feedback, it's the actual feedback loop that you get. It's much more sensitive in terms of knowing exactly what the children are understanding or not understanding. And then the following day, where we've seen that there's been a little bit of a wobble, we've just gone back in, redesigned the lesson and done the same thing again. And it's been tiny steps in maths, but that pushing out and seeing those whiteboards and seeing what they're doing, it's been revolutionary, to tell you the truth. And that's about it. It's brilliant.
Brilliant. And here's some examples then of what Jill was saying. So you've been able to use the fractions, and this has been instant and coming straight through to you when you're working with the groups.
Yeah, completely.
Brilliant. And it is. And thank you to everyone that are adding their comments. This is a new tool that we've started using. So this session is all about showing you practice as well. And it's great to see. In English, I have been speaking with Jen and with Karen, and I've seen that Jen's on the call. Jen, is there anything that you would like to add on how you think this could be used for English?
Yeah, I've only just started using it, and one of the obviously apart from seeing what they're writing as they're writing it and giving them feedback, I used it in a reading lesson. They were highlighting the text and stuff, where we were looking for the answers in the text, so they were highlighting that. It's actually quite difficult, as you can see, to actually write handwriting. So with the children I've been working with, they've been typing, but yeah, there's loads of potential for sharing and that sort of guided practice and collaborative work, and then keeping an eye on how they're getting on as they're writing. So yeah, lots of different ways, and I'm sure that the other teachers out there have been using it far longer than I have, so we've got lots more ideas.
Brilliant, thank you. And like Tanya said, it is great for phonics with the younger children. It's the handwriting was a bit that I liked, sending out the recap. So having the recap on the board when everyone was waiting to come in the lobby earlier. Actually, if I'd sent everyone the recap first, they'd been able to work on that whilst they're waiting for me. The hinge point sections, independent practice. So actually, now that we've spoken to Jill, and thank you, Jen, as well for supporting with that, I do have Gemma on the line, who I know has just started and has just started talking about this in her previous meeting. So I'm going to pass over to Gemma, who's going to talk a little bit more about how she's been using Whiteboard Fi.
Yeah, to repeat what Jill said, it really has changed William Hume's way of delivering live lessons immensely. The engagement from the children, but then also then you being able to react to how the children can complete the tasks has been phenomenal for the teachers. It's been a massive win for us. We use it as a busy task as soon as the children start being admitted to the lesson, because obviously it takes a while because we teach with the 60 children together. So 60 children being admitted, we have the task waiting for them. I have a tab set up on their team so that the Whiteboard Fi is always there, the code, so they just hit the tab and the code is waiting for them. And then they complete the task before we get the lesson started. Just a quick review task. We use it for I do, we do, you do. So lots of modelling using the I do. We do, we include the microphones, and then you do, we can be jumping on the boards, modelling. And then we do a lot of sharing children's boards and letting them talk the problem through, and their friends either challenging them or supporting them, which has been really lovely. The scaffolded backgrounds really support as well. At first, when we were just using cameras and microphones, the quick retrieval tasks, the quick review tasks are not as quick when you can't just draw a line between a picture and a piece of vocabulary and things like that. Whereas we can show some pictures, show some of our new vocabulary, who can draw a line and match which picture represents the word really quickly. So the lesson's got more pace, and then you can react to who's understanding, who's not understanding. So it's been a big thumbs up from the teachers at William Hume's.
Brilliant. So, and it can be shared, as you said. So here is, and hopefully the sound will work. Gemma has sent some brilliant videos that we'll go through. And Gemma, if you want to add anything with these, and then just tell me when to press play.
Okay. Yeah, so there's a variety of videos. Some of them are just showing what it looks like for the teachers. Some of them are just showing how you can give that instant feedback. Ones where your teachers are jumping on the boards, and I think there should be a clip where it's the children's board being shared with the whole cohort, and them getting the chance to talk their way through the success criteria.
Brilliant. So
2, 1. They should start appearing now. I can see Adam's got it on his board. I can see Abu's got it on his board. I can see Angela's got it on her board. I can see that Abinay's already started calculating his answer. Fantastic.
Wonderful. And Zaina's got it on her board. Let's start.
okay.
To jump on your whiteboard, just wrong one. Just to show you where I think you should be starting your yellow box. Okay, so Ms. Khan is jumping on, just give me 2 seconds. Okay, so here, Zaid Ali, remember we're starting when we add, we're going to start adding with our ones. Okay, so you should be doing 6, add 6, add 6, or it's just 6 lots.
Okay, and we've got.
Well done, Halima, just check that. You've told me that 100 lots of 6 are 100, and I know you don't think that's the answer, because we can look back at our known facts, and you've already worked this one out. You know what 100 lots of 6 are.
I'm going to push it to you all now and say, can you unmute yourself for us, please? Hello. Thank you, Sahib. So Sahib, in a few minutes, well, in about 10 seconds, everyone will receive your answers. Please will you talk us through question 1, 2, 3, 4, our quick recap questions based on our independent reading tasks. Everybody should now see Sahib. Don't worry if you can't.
And then one more.
If your finger is ready, show me those fingers. Show me those fingers.
Oh,
okay. Right. I'm going to say it. We're starting left to right, and we're going to start at the top and go down. Show me left to right, everybody. Use your fingers in the air and show me left to right. I want to see you moving in those cameras. Left to right. Left to right. Lovely, Masuma. And I want you to work from the top down. So show me with your fingers, top, down, top, down. Brilliant. Are you ready? I'm going to say the words. 3, 2, 1. Raspberry. Who can say click this? Who can say click this? Raspberry, raspberry, left to.
Okay, Gemma, is there anything else you wanted to add about those before we moved on?
Nothing other than I fully recommend you just giving it a go. I know some people have said in the chat, like, is there help for the children? The children genuinely just got on and they were able to do it. And the only struggle is if they're late to the room, sometimes it doesn't appear, but you can just action it and push it directly to that child if there's just one or two children missing it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Gemma. Okay, now a couple of other bits before we move on to just sharing some good practice and any questions that people might have. I have seen that Miss Weatherby, I don't know if she's on the call from Goresbrook, has been tweeting quite a bit about using Whiteboard.fi. She did a brilliant activity a few days ago where they were showing their emotions and how they were feeling. Might be a nice activity that the children do whilst they're waiting in the lobby before they come onto your call. We also, yesterday, she shared where she was doing fractions and the children were able to practice using their different colours to create their own fraction walls. I've seen then that Miss Weatherby did share her practice with Miss Scott, also at Goresbrook, and they used there for vocab lessons. So you can see from here they had a template. The template would have been set as a background and pushed out to all the children, and then they were able to add their vocabulary work. I've also seen other people across not only the UK but globally using these. Fraction seems to be quite popular at the moment. I know it is one of the White Rose units for some. And then also I thought this is quite a lovely tweet in the fact that there was children who perhaps wouldn't normally speak up and they were submitting their work on the Whiteboard.fi as well. So it really is inclusive for everyone. Some of the ideas we've had then is about sharing emotions, daily check-ins, supporting students who have difficulty seeing the board. So you may then want to push it forward when you're back in the classroom. They've got an iPad in front of them. They're able to see the whiteboard in front of them as well. You can create personalised learning opportunities and even for small group interventions. We have had some problems. So problems logging in when you have a license key. Do check your junk email because sometimes some automatic emails have been blocked. And contact Whiteboard.fi. I know a few people that have contacted them already and they've been fantastic in supporting any problems that we've had. Whiteboards importing or carrying over from classes or schools. If you use the persist button, it will then hold the last persist button and upload what it remembers. And sometimes there have been problems with the iPad or laptop not syncing. Now, I only started using this like 2 days ago, so I haven't found a solution yet, but I know I've noticed Dan has written in the chat box, we are going to look at how else we can support schools with using this. So that kind of leads us on to now a real opportunity for please do, if you have been using this, if you've got anything you can share with people, or if you have any questions, I'm happy to model and go through steps, or perhaps even how you can start using Whiteboard.fi in your lessons. So I can't hand it over to the floor really. Has anyone got how they've been using it? Dan, has anything come through?
Got a couple of requests, Gemma,
Okay.
from Emma asking about, could you just show that toggle, your whiteboard, how you toggle on and off your teacher whiteboard, and also how the erase button works. I think that changed during the last few months, the eraser, and if you could just quickly show that.
Yeah. So going back onto toggle my whiteboard. And sorry, what's the first part? So if I set up a new page.
Yeah, if you could just talk us through what the options are when you're using the eraser tool.
Okay. I've not had experience of using the eraser tool. Gemma, would you be happy to explain the eraser tool, please?
When we push to the book children, if you click push for me, we always go for the third option, and that means they can't erase their background. So that third push to students as a background, so that then if they draw on it, when you press the eraser, they can rub out their work without the scaffold or the backdrop disappearing.
Brilliant, thank you. So that's one of the things, there we go, that's I should have done. This is where we're all learning together. So if I was to push this to you now, a nice little white rose one, I push your whiteboard, and now you shouldn't be able to erase that. You should then just be able to write on it, and you can zoom in and annotate it as you need to. And then I can see down below for the students who is still online and who is still getting it. Brilliant, thank you. Dan, what was the other question?
It's just about that. How can you erase, you know, one thing but not the other? But I think if we just, you know, if you flatten the image like you've shown, then that becomes a background, and therefore you only erase the foreground, and therefore the background stays there. So that's the key thing. Once you've got your kind of setup, your template, if you then flatten it at that point, it becomes a background, or they're all grouped together and locked essentially, and anything you do is on top of it. And when you erase, you'll just choose the erase the foreground, and then all your template thing stays in the background. That's
right. So if I show, I'm going to download this picture of a tree. I haven't got my permission to use this, so I'm not going to share it anywhere else. If I go onto my whiteboard, I can now upload my image. There's my tree. I can press open.
You can just drag and drop them in and copy and paste straight into the board too.
Brilliant, thank you. And then where I've got my tree where I want it, if I then flatten it, it becomes the background. And now if I push this out to people, they will have the tree, but they can't erase the tree. It will be coming to them. Just push him. And it's just loading at the moment. Whilst it's pushing down, there's any other further questions come? Has anyone got anything they'd like to ask or share?
Tanya, is it worth saying a little bit about the premium feature that you've negotiated?
Yeah, we've centrally negotiated. Sorry, I haven't got my camera on. Centrally, we've negotiated a permanent 50% discount on either annual or monthly subscriptions, and schools can claim back up to 7 licenses for the first month from the central team to get schools started. So, you know, a great way to give it a go, and that is for a premium license. So the 50% discount again is on the premium subscription.
Brilliant, thanks Tanya. Has anyone else got any questions or how they've used this before?
One thing just to mention, I put a link in the chat. One of the useful features going forward is the library feature. It is a premium feature, but it means that if you've created a whiteboard that you're proud of, you can share that with another teacher, and that way we don't have to replicate lots of work. So if you've got a teacher who's, you know, really good at creating graphic organizers or something like that, they could create a whiteboard with all the different graphic organizers for year 3 or whatever, and just send that as a link in the library, and then another teacher just puts that code in and they get that, and then they can make it their own. So if it's something we're all going to have, it kind of makes sense to make use of that library and share our best practice. So I think that's going to be a really useful feature. So it's one that we can look at, perhaps creating a little bit of advice over, because you know, there's a few clicks involved, but I see it has great potential for managing workload.
So there we go. So there's one in the library that Dana created earlier, and then we're able to share that.
That's right. If you go down at the bottom of the library, there's a section where you says you can share, and once you click on that share whiteboard, that's the code. You know, we can email that out to people, or, you know, I guess it needs a bit of coordination, but certainly within your school you can build up a bank, and then, you know, Jill, Jen, Mark, etc., when they see some really good templates, they can be shared more widely.
Brilliant. Thanks, Dan. Well, I'm going to stop recording now. Oh, before I stop recording, actually, I just wanted to do at the end of this, I have included myself and Dan's email addresses and our Twitter feeds. If you do have any questions, please let us know. And I've also included some links where I did get the information for today from, but there's also a lot of people I wanted to thank for this evening. Obviously, Gemma School, Tanya, Dan, Jill, Gemma, Mark, Jen, Karen, Miss Weatherby, Miss Scott, for everyone's contributions towards this. I'm very excited about developing it and using it. And Dan and I've already seen that Vicky had put in about a guide. This could be something that Dan and I will look at, and we'll aim to get out the information as soon as we can to you. But please do, where people are beginning to use it, do share any good practice with us that you have been using or any problems, and then we can start to build up a bank of frequently asked questions as well. And I will send out the recording and the slides to you.